Tony, right. One of the best things the government could do is stop spending. Cut the budget and cut some of these regulations out. We have far too many of them. It's not a hard choice. There are a lot of synergies you could get used to in Carson City. Well, the state does not have to spend up to the budget every year. If they don't spend, if each department doesn't spend up to the budget, then you can either bank that money for the next year or write a bonus to the employees, whatever. But if they don't spend all the way up to the budget, then we can split that money to the next year. But cutting spending and cutting taxes is one of the biggest things we can do to get this place moving again.
Trish Marsh, District 7. Wow, we have a lot of issues that we're going to have to be faced with in the next several years to come. And again, it is the wasteful spending. We've got so many pieces of legislation right now that I believe at this present time they're starting to create new pieces of legislation and earmark inside those other pieces of legislation other ways of getting that money that they're trying to save. I don't see it getting saved at the moment, and that's why I intend to get there and really, really pick it apart. It's time. We need some serious people with some common sense, and no more earmarks. We need to look at every earmark that gets thrown into the newest pieces of legislation and find out why is it present in there. There are a few other pieces out there. We have wasteful spending on just about every level, even in our school system. We have wastefulness going on in our school system, as I've stated before. Not to say that we want to jeopardize our children's education. No, because I have an 8-year-old out there in a public school system as well. But I also see things getting shredded. Our history books shredded. Our math books being shredded. Only because it no longer is politically correct. For whatever reason, they've changed our language and they want to requisition new pieces of books with politically correct information. We learned it the way we learned it as borrow and carry. They now call it regroup. In my opinion, when my daughter brought that home to me the first time, I looked at that piece of paper and I went, regroup what? It just didn't make much sense to me. So let's start getting some common sense placed back into our education. Let's stop shredding paper. My God, beautiful reams of paper just because they were oversized. They got the wrong, what do they call it? When you get the wrong type of paper?
The weight?
The weight or whatever it was. They're shredding perfectly blank paper. Well, why not chop it up and use it as little notepads or something like that? We've got a lot of waste going on. Let's take a look at that. Let's seriously look at it. Trish Marsh.
Mark Menendo. 2 nights ago, I was out putting up one of my campaign signs up at Flamingo and Spencer area. And a man and woman walked by. They just come from the Speedy Mart. And they said, "Is that really you?" They were looking at my sign, has my picture on it. My girlfriend and I were out there, and I said, "Yeah, that's me." We just started talking. I was fixing my sign. She was talking to my girlfriend. We said, "Where do you live?" And they said, "Well, if you look down there, underneath the bridge, that's where we live, for now." And the gentleman, the gentleman was a veteran. And that wasn't her boyfriend or husband. They were friends. There's several groups. There's 3 different couples. There was 6 people living down there. Hopefully, in about a week or 2, they're going to be able to get into an apartment. She's an out-of-work construction worker, and I didn't catch what he was doing, but it's the economy. People are just starving out there. When you have folks that have no place to go, they have no job. We need to do better. There's absolutely no doubt about that. On my flyer right there, there's a picture of myself and a gentleman named Richard Carrillo. That's out at a recycling plant that we visited, talking about how we can diversify our economy. That's just one way, and I'm not going to say that I have the answers to all our problems, But there are tens of thousands of jobs that can be created in Nevada just by recycling. Where I work, in my day job, I work for a collision authority. We recycle our parts of our vehicles, helps obviously our environment, and creates jobs. They only have not only, but they have 80 employees. But if everybody were to do that, businesses, I mean, we're not even talking about the households, but businesses, just taking the time to recycle it. The owner of the company is like, yeah, it's competition, but you know what? We can create lots of jobs, put people back to work. We have to, obviously build the facilities to do that. Obviously, more people paying into the tax rolls. Ms. Marsh mentioned about the textbooks. That's horrendous to me. I have a lot of poor schools in my district. We have copy machines that have been broke for years. So instead of fixing them, the school district goes and finds another one instead. I don't know, is it cheaper to buy a new one rather than fix? Personally, I don't think so. When you go into an office and there's 3 copy machines, that is ridiculous. When you have administrators that are bringing, they're bringing over $100,000 a year and they're bringing home their car at taxpayers' expense, that's horrendous. There is waste, absolutely, in government, and we need to have the backbone and the spine, and we haven't had that, to say enough is enough with that. That's wrong. Mark Menendo, thank you.
Bill Lyons. I'm also a parent, and I'm wondering, what are your solutions specifically to address the educational problem in the state?
Thank you. Kathy McLean. I'd like to just clarify something, though, for everybody's information. When the state allocates funding to school districts, it's a dollar amount. The school districts make all the decisions on what they spend that money on. So I agree that there's probably a lot of waste in the school districts, but you need to understand that state legislators really don't have the authority over their spending levels. So, with having said that, pressure can be put on at the state level, obviously, to the school districts, make them more accountable on how they spend their money. We have a very powerful teachers union, and our administrators. You're sort of at the mercy of the district administration, obviously. So I just wanted to make that clear. There's at the state level, we're basically what do I want to say? We can champion the causes. We can suggest ways of doing things more efficient. We can allocate specific amounts to certain programs like the class size reduction, et cetera. But the overall picture is up to the Board of Trustees, basically.
Tony, right? Improving education is actually pretty easy. First of all, redo your textbooks. The textbooks change the curriculum. When you change the curriculum, you work some of the politics out of the textbooks and put the history back into classes. As far as class size reduction, everything else like that, when I went to school, we had 30 kids in a classroom. There's no reason I can't do that now. Class size reduction has no effect on outcomes. Getting rid of the teachers union and the administrators union would be a very good start. The unions don't belong in government anyway. We can take care of the teachers and reward the ones that are good and get rid of the ones that are bad. We can also institute school vouchers. Let these kids move around to the better schools. Tony Wright, thank you.